signed the divorce papers, Helena. Alexandros Kiriákos' voice was firm, icy. Their marriage had collapsed in just 1 year, smothered by a routine that drained desire and extinguished passion. 3 years later, he had tried to move on. He found a woman calm, docile, the exact opposite Helena. And now, at their reunion, a single glance was enough to reignite the devastating attraction that had never truly died. He swore he would set himself free of her, but instead, he became a prisoner once more, bound to the only woman who could still chain his heart. Round Pushpin, Athens, Greece, 1984. Alexandros Kiriákos leaned back on the deck chair of his yacht, gazing over the bay of San Esteban. The sea shimmered beneath the Spanish sun, as if the entire landscape had been painted just for him. A deep sense of triumph filled him. For nearly 4 years, since taking over the family business after his father's death, he had devoted himself to turning a vision into reality. And now, there was before his eyes, luxury homes scattered across the hills, a 5-star hotel, a golf course, and a marina filled with gleaming yachts. San Esteban had become a coveted retreat for millionaires and celebrities. The project was complete. But what about him? Where would he go from here? Back to Athens? To the ruthless corridors of the corporation? Or would he finally try to bring order to his personal life? This calls for a celebration. A soft voice drifted from behind him. Alexandros smiled. Adriana Stavros had just appeared. Elegant, practical, decisive. That was how he liked to see her. Efficient, composed, someone who handled everything without questions. Perhaps even the perfect wife. He no longer believed in love. But Adriana offered something else. Beauty, companionship, sophistication, without emotional demands. It wasn't passion, but it might be stability. Yet before he could move forward, there was something unresolved, a bond that still held him back. Helena Markos. Her name burned through his thoughts like an unwanted flame. 3 years had passed since she left him, and still her memory lingered. Beer in hand, Alexandros turned back to the horizon. That marriage had been a reckless mistake. Wild passion, fierce arguments, painful separations. Helena had been a storm in his life. Perhaps that was why forgetting her was impossible. Adriana, on the other hand, was calm, discreet, suitable. His mother and sister adored her, a great advantage. Helena had never fit into the Kiriákos family. From the beginning, she had been seen as an outsider, and with reason. Still, when Alexandros closed his eyes, her face appeared. Fiery red hair, challenging green eyes, an ironic smile. Unlike any woman. And it was that difference that haunted him. Meanwhile, in London, Helena Markos received a letter. Sitting at the kitchen table, she read in disbelief the notice from the Kiriákos family lawyer. Alexandros wanted a divorce. Officially, it was expected. After all, they had been separated for 3 years. But why now? Was there another woman? The thought hurt more than it should. Helena remembered the overwhelming start of their love. Young, reckless, unable to resist each other. But passion had turned into battles, and in the end into silence. The letter stated she would need to travel to Athens to settle the divorce. Alexandros would cover the expenses. Everything quick, discreet. But why couldn't he come to London? That question gnawed at her. And yet, a bigger problem weighed on her. She couldn't simply leave her mother, Margaret, alone. The car accident had left her with serious limitations. Though recovering, she still required constant care. When Helena explained, Margaret was firm. "Don't go, my dear. Seeing Alexandros again will only hurt you." Helena turned away. They had had that argument countless times. She knew the meeting would be painful, but unavoidable. She needed to face the man who still had power over her emotions. And there was another complication. Richard Hale, her neighbor in London, had insisted on accompanying her. A physiotherapist by profession, a close friend, and perhaps a frustrated suitor. Helena wasn't sure of her feelings for him, but she knew one thing. Richard meant another conflict in the storm ahead. Back in Athens, Alexandros was preparing for the encounter. His lawyer, Dimitrios Anagnostou, had informed him that Helena would stay in a modest hotel, in a room adapted for a wheelchair. A wheelchair? The thought that Helena might be ill or fragile hit him hard. For the first time in years, Alexandros felt fear. Fear of seeing her again and discovering that something had changed forever. Yet deep inside, he knew the truth. No divorce could ever be simple when desire still remained. Helena adjusted her brown suit in front of the mirror. Conservative, elegant, but inside she knew she was dressing for battle. At that meeting, she would not simply sign papers. She would confront the man who still had the power to destroy her, or to reignite everything she had tried to bury. 15 minutes later, Helena Markos stood before Alexandros Kiriákos in the vast, luxurious boardroom of his company in Athens. He was there, tall, imposing, sun-bronzed, carrying that aura of power that always disarmed her and infuriated her at the same time. The same flawless suit, the same arrogant presence. He hadn't changed. Or perhaps he had changed for the worse. Helena's heart pounded, not from the thrill of seeing him again, but from the anger burning through her veins. His black eyes pierced her, as if they could see through her soul. She met his gaze, unflinching. A silence fell between them, sharp as a blade. At the table sat Demetrios and Agnosto, the family's lawyer and Alexandros' godfather. Behind Helena stood Stephen Ward, the young attorney she had brought with her. But none of that mattered. This wasn't just a divorce meeting. This was a battlefield. Alexandros didn't so much as move to greet her. His dark eyes swept over her body with a look that was part disdain, part desire. Helena lifted her chin, proud, defiant. So this is it? Her green eyes said more than her words. Indifference. Inside, Alexandros burned. 3 years had passed, and still she was there, more beautiful than ever. And the thought of finding her in a wheelchair had shaken him more than he dared admit. But anger was stronger. Anger that she still had this power over him. Anger at the blonde man he had seen with her at the hotel. Anger at the thought that another man had touched what he once believed was his. "You're late," he said coldly, tapping a silver pen against the table. "Traffic was impossible," Helena answered, dry and sharp. "Traffic in Athens is always impossible. You should remember," he shot back, his tone like steel. The atmosphere in the room was ready to ignite. Stephen adjusted his papers. Try and preserve some formality. But the looks exchanged across the table needed no protocol. As Demetrios began outlining the terms of the agreement, Helena didn't even glance at the documents. She wasn't there for money, not for houses, not for family heirlooms. She was there for freedom. But Alexandros didn't believe it. To him, her very presence was a provocation. How dare she walk into this room, defiant, in that tailored suit designed to provoke him? Why? To flaunt another man? When did I ever give you the impression that I was a gold digger, Alexandros? She demanded, her green eyes blazing. "You're here, aren't you?" He shot back, acid in his voice. "What else could you possibly want?" Helena glared at him, as if she could pierce through his arrogance. She wanted nothing from him. Nothing, except her freedom. "I don't want your house. I don't want your money. I don't want your name." With a firm gesture, she slid the wedding ring from her finger and placed it before him. "I only want the divorce." The silence that followed was suffocating. "Say it again." His voice dropped low, dark. "Say it, looking into my eyes." A shiver ran down her spine, but she did not look away. "I want the divorce, Alexandros. I want to be rid of you forever." Her words struck him like a blow. "Then explain." He leaned forward, fury and desire war in his eyes. "Who is Richard Hale?" Helena laughed, a bitter laugh that barely masked her tears. "Why do you care, Alexandros? After 3 years without even knowing if I was alive, what right do you have to ask?" He leaned over the table, his breath far too close. "Because you are still my wife." The words crashed through her like thunder. The shock was instant. One moment she tried to step back. The next, she was trapped, pinned between the table and the weight of his presence. The touch, the scent, the memory of intimacy she had sworn to forget, came rushing back like a tidal wave. For an instant, she hated herself for feeling it. Yes, she still felt. But no, she could not surrender. "Let me go," she demanded, fighting against her racing heart. He didn't. Alexandros' gaze was fire and ice. Admit it, Helena. I still get to you. She shoved him back, trembling with rage. What gets to me is the disgust I feel for you. The slap cracked across his face, echoing in the room. The lawyers rushed back, startled by the scene, but Helena didn't wait. She grabbed her purse, straightened her blouse beneath the blazer, and strode to the door. Draft whatever he wants, Ward. I'll sign it. Her voice was steady, but her tear-filled eyes betrayed her, and she left, leaving behind a man marked, literally, by the blow to his face and by the weight of what he had just lost. Demetrios sighed as he entered. She slapped you, Alexandros. I think you deserved it. He didn't reply. He simply stared at the spot where Helena had stood. He could still feel her perfume lingering in the air, the warmth of her body, the bitter taste of memory. And then, the revelation struck him with brutal clarity. He didn't want the divorce. He wanted his wife back. On the sweltering streets of Athens, Helena Markos hailed a taxi with a quick wave. She handed the driver the hotel address, then sank into the back seat with a sigh, one that carried the weight of her entire morning. Perhaps she should have waited for Stephen. Perhaps it would have been wiser not to be alone. But in that moment, she wanted no one by her side, no one to witness the chaos inside her. Her body still trembled. Her heart still raced, as if she had just run a marathon. Beneath the blazer, her blouse remained unbuttoned. Her skin still burned from the memory of Alexandros' touch, hands that had branded her like fire. She brought her fingers to her lips. They still pulsed from the kiss he had forced upon her. Not a kiss that should have made her scream, but one that, against all reason, had almost made her yield. Humiliation washed over her. Weakness. How dared he? How could Alexandros Kiriákos still act as if he had any right over her? You provoked him, Helena, whispered the voice inside her. You went into that room hoping to wound his heart, and came out with your own shattered. She looked at her left hand, now bare, stripped to the ring, and the doubt consumed her. What hurt more, the cruel way he had treated her, or the fact that she still loved him, despite everything? The taxi dropped her at the hotel beneath the scorching noon sun. The heat was suffocating. The leather outfit she had chosen provoked him now felt like madness. Her mother had been right. She had gone looking for trouble, and she had found it, in her room. She stripped off the suit, stepped under the shower, and let the water run down her body, hoping it might wash away the memories too. But when she dressed again in jeans and a t-shirt, the thoughts returned. Why was Alexandros planning to marry Adriana? To secure his dynasty? To have the heir he had never wanted with her? Tears stung her eyes. I would have given him every child in the world if he had asked, but not with me as their mother. She couldn't bear the suffocating walls any longer. She tied her hair into a ponytail, slung her camera over her shoulder, and put on her sunglasses. Before leaving, she stopped by her mother's room. Knocked. No answer. Relieved, she left a quick note at the reception desk. As she stepped out, she ran into Stephen. Have they drafted the agreement? She asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Not yet. Mr. Kiriákos left right after you did, the lawyer replied, puzzled. Helena mocked silently. Of course. He must have run straight into the arms of his perfect fiancée. She dismissed Stephen and chose to walk alone. The city welcomed her like an old friend. She wandered through the streets, crossed the harbor, snapped photographs. The heat, the noise, the colors, all of it brought her a sense of freedom. At a cafe by the marina, she sat down, sipped a strong Greek coffee, and tried to breathe in peace. The restaurant owner, friendly as always, came over. Soon other men joined in. Helena relaxed, laughed, tried out phrases in Greek. For a few minutes, she felt like the young woman who had once discovered Athens for the first time. But the illusion ended the instant a firm hand settled on her shoulder. Helena froze. She would recognize that touch anywhere. Now I understand why my wife misses the city. His voice in Greek was smooth, laced with irony. It's because here she finds other admirers to keep her company. Alexandros. The men smiled, oblivious to the tension. He leaned down and kissed her cheek, forcing her to keep appearances before them. One by one, the others slipped away, discreet. "Still following me, Alexandros?" she challenged, her voice low. "I've discovered you understand my language perfectly." His gaze far too intense. Helena held her ground. "And you've always underestimated me." What followed was a duel of sharpened words. He accused her of never trying to belong to his family. She shot back that she had never had support, abandoned while he was always too busy to see her. Each phrase was a strike, each memory an open wound. "No wonder our marriage lasted only a year," she concluded bitterly. But Alexandros let slip what he hadn't meant to reveal. "I loved you, Helena." She smiled, wounded. In bed, perhaps. Outside of it, never. Silence thickened until he leaned closer. "I came to apologize for this morning." Helena lifted her chin. "Apology accepted. Now you can go." But he didn't move. Instead, with tenderness cloaked in brutality, Alexandros pulled her ring from his pocket and tossed it onto the table. The gold glinted in the sunlight, and her heart leapt. "Put it back on," he ordered. "We're getting divorced." "What's the point?" He placed his own ring beside hers. The two bands lay together, engraved with the words they had once chosen. "My heart is here." Helena paled. This wasn't just a memory. It was a challenge. "If this means nothing to you, then stand up and walk away. Leave the ring on the table," he said firmly. "But if it still means something, put it back on." She hesitated. She should have had the strength to rise and walk away. But in a reckless impulse, she slid the ring back onto her finger. Alexandros smiled triumphant. "Then, tonight, we'll have dinner. Just the two of us." Helena felt the blood drain from her veins. She knew exactly what he wanted. "I have another commitment, Alexandros." "With your lover?" he mocked, his voice dripping with venom. "Fine then. Let him come too. We'll make a perfect quartet. You with me, Adriana with him." The words cut like knives. Helena turned pale, the pain carved into her face. When she finally spoke, her voice was a whisper. "I was talking about my mother." And she rose, unsteady, leaving him alone with the two rings, still gleaming on the table. Little liar, Helena scolded herself in silence as she hurried through the hotel corridors. "You said exactly what you wanted to say. You just didn't expect him to read it so perfectly and open another wound in your already broken heart." But Andrus didn't follow her, which meant only one thing. They were back to where they had started. Why am I still here? Why do I still let this man control me like this? 3 long years of separation should have erased those dangerous emotions, should have armored her heart. But no, he still had the power to shatter her. By the time she reached the lobby, her head pounded and the heat was suffocating. The last thing she needed was an audience. Yet there they were, her mother, Richard, and Stephen, settled into the velvet armchairs, a tray of tea still on the table. "Where have you been, my daughter?" Margaret's voice cut through the air, full of worry. "I left a note at reception," Helena replied, trying to sound calm. "Went out for a walk." "That's all. You disappear for hours, and you think that's enough? If you brought me to Athens, you should spare me some of your time." Helena sighed. Her mother was right. It wouldn't be fair to shift the blame onto Richard, who already looked as though he regretted ever joining this trip. "Forgive me, Mama," she murmured, leaning to kiss her mother's cheek. Then she realized the cause of the impatience. The air conditioning was broken. Richard was drenched in sweat. Stephen fanned himself with a magazine. The heat inside the hotel was nearly as unbearable as outside. "The elevator's out, too," Stephen explained dryly. "Power failure. Seems to happen often. And how do you expect a woman in a wheelchair to climb 4 floors without an elevator?" Margaret snapped, irritated. Panic rose in Helena's throat. She wanted to cry. She wanted to be back in rainy England, camera in hand, far from Andrus. But she was trapped with him. "Just give me a minute. I'll look for another hotel." "Is there a problem here?" The unmistakable voice echoed behind her. Helena closed her eyes. "No, not here. Not now." But yes, it was him. Andrus. Her heart raced. Her resistance collapsed as he approached. Firm, commanding, dominating the space. Before she could react, his hand gripped her wrist, pulling her against his broad chest. And Helena didn't resist. As if her body betrayed her mind, she let herself sink into the arms of her enemy. Margaret gasped, "This is all your fault, Andrus." He smiled faintly, ignoring the attack. "Mr. Ward, please tell the manager that Alexandros Kiriákos wishes to speak with him," he ordered with calm authority. The manager appeared almost at once, breathless with apologies. Within minutes, Andrus had resolved everything with his usual efficiency. When he finally let her go, Helena had to hug herself, holding together what remained of her composure. Richard watched in silence. Stephen looked like a witness to some forbidden family drama. Her mother was once again enchanted with her son-in-law. "Soon a car with air conditioning will arrive to take you somewhere decent," Andrus announced, his gallantry directed at Margaret. "To where?" Helena cut in, her voice hard. "To our home." Her breath caught. "Our home!" The audacity of it infuriated her. "We're not going," she shot back. "The power will be restored soon. There's no reason to dramatize." "And if it happens again," he countered firmly, "would you prefer your mother trapped in a dark room?" Margaret smiled, swayed by his charm. And Helena lost the battle then and there. Silence grew heavy, until Andrus struck venomous. "Your lover may sleep wherever he pleases, as long as it's not in our home." The ground vanished beneath her. She had forgotten it was she who had hinted at that lie. Now the misunderstanding was his weapon against her. Later, back in her room, she found there were no seats available on any flight back to London. They were trapped in Athens. And with Andrus nearby, the danger was not only emotional. Richard appeared at her door. He wanted to help, perhaps even dreamed of being more than a friend. But Helena could only confess bitterly. "He suspended the divorce, Richard. He's fighting for me, not to win me back, but to keep me from another." Then came that voice, the voice that made her tremble, cutting through the air behind her. Too late to deny it. "Helena, I can count." Her heart thundered. She was cornered. Andrus advanced, his black eyes burning, ready to claim what he believed was his. "Don't you dare," she whispered. He stepped closer, his breath hot against her skin. "Say it again," he commanded. "Repeat what you just called me." "Andrus." A dangerous smile curved his lips. The kiss came like a strike, wild, consuming, devastating. And Helena, torn between fury and desire, surrendered once again to man she had sworn to hate. But when it was over, she found the strength to refuse. "What we just did was a mistake. Go away, Andrus." He looked at her as if she had spoken blasphemy. "Go away? So your golden-haired Adonis can return." Helena didn't answer. She simply stepped into the bathroom and shut the door, leaving him alone, consumed by desire and by the certainty that he would never give her up. Alexandros surveyed the modest hotel room, its worn wooden floor, the furniture that seemed to belong to another era, the plain sheets, the bold-colored quilt. All of it reminded him of his own bed, wide and luxurious, dressed in fine cotton. Wherever he imagined Helena, sitting on the floor choosing photographs or lying across his bed, she always stood out as a striking contrast. A contrast he had missed more than he wanted to admit. The sound of the shower stopped, pulling him back to the present. Helena appeared, wrapped in a robe, and her eyes widened when she saw him rifling through her suitcase. "What do you think you're doing?" she asked, stunned. "The obvious," he replied coldly. Helena tried to protest, but Alexandros didn't yield. When he noticed the robe she wore, his brows arched. "I recognize that," he murmured, as though every detail was a memory. She tried to justify herself, but Alexandros stepped closer, pressing his face against the fabric, as if trying to reclaim a fragment of the past. Helena shivered. "You have no right, Alexandros." Her voice came out firm, though trembling within. "It's not a right," he countered, serious. "It's memory. It's what's left of us." The air between them thickened. He spoke as if he could pull her back into a time when they had still believed in each other. Cornered, Helena struck back with sarcasm. And what will your precious Adriana say when she learns of this unexpected visit? Or shall I call Richard complete the scene? Alexandros' expression hardened. There is no Adriana. There is no Richard. There is only us, Helena. His voice dropped, deep, final. And you'd better accept it. She clutched the robe tighter across her chest, tried to shield herself not only from him, but from the storm of feelings he stirred within her. She knew he was different now. Harder, more intense, shaped by the years and the weight of responsibility after his father's death. And still, he was the same man who could disarm her in seconds. Why now, Alexandros? Helena whispered, why go back on everything? Because I still want you, he answered without hesitation. Because nothing was enough to drive me away from you. She wanted to fight back, but the room fell into darkness as the power failed, plunging the city into blackout. Alexandros opened the door, taking her hand. Come, before night falls completely. They descended the stairs in half-light. Helena stumbled, nearly falling, but Alexandros caught her by the waist, pinning her gently against the wall. His black eyes gleamed so close to hers. I want you back in my life, Helena. I want what we had, before it all collapsed. I can't pretend otherwise anymore. She couldn't lie. With tears welling, she whispered, I want it too. The kiss that sealed those words was fierce, charged with emotion, with hope. For the first time in so long, Helena felt there might still be a chance for them. But when footsteps echoed on the staircase, they broke apart breathless, like guilty lovers caught in the act. Outside, the setting sun bathed Athens in gold. Alexandros helped her into his Ferrari and drove toward the mountains. Along the way, he held her hand, kissed her wrist, as if silently reaffirming his claim. Helena tried to convince herself she should resist, but each gesture of his weakened her defenses. When they finally stopped before the house that had once been their home, her heart tightened. Here were the memories of arguments, silences, and wounds. Alexandros watched her quietly, sensing her unease. To him, the house meant hope. To her, it was the echo of pain. And in that moment, while Helena was still catching her breath, he noticed it. A car parked beneath the trees, right in front of property. He recognized it instantly. His face darkened. The danger did not come only from the past, but from whoever was waiting ahead. And Helena knew this night was far from over. Walking up to the house demanded more courage than Helena had imagined. The moment Alexandros opened the front door, her heart raced. Caught between distaste and apprehension, the wide hall welcomed her with the cool breath of air conditioning. Bluish walls, a gleaming banister, furniture that looked as if it belonged to a magazine, all of it reinforced the chill of the place. This house had never been a home, only a stage to impress, a theater of loneliness. From the kitchen emerged a middle-aged woman dressed in black. This is Elias, our housekeeper, Alexandros introduced, his voice firm. My wife. The title struck Helena like a blow. Forcing a polite smile, she responded, though her mind was elsewhere, already picturing her mother's reaction when she discovered that instead of finalizing the divorce, Helena was here reconciled, at least in appearance. They walked onto the covered veranda, where Margaret waited in wicker chairs, accompanied by Stephen. Her mother's welcoming smile radiated relief. There you are, she exclaimed, pleased. But Helena's momentary comfort collapsed when she saw who rose from a chair in the corner. Adriana Stavros. Beautiful, delicate, refined, still the shadow of a rival that had never vanished. How very kind of you to bring us here, Alexandros, Margaret remarked, unaware of the weight of her words. Helena froze. Adriana's presence in that house was an affront, and her expression made it clear. Alexandros tried to disguise it, but Helena had already withdrawn. She refused to hear excuses. She slipped into a smaller sitting room and slammed the door. Moments later, his voice sounded behind her. You were rude, Helena. I learned from the best, she retorted, cold. The clash escalated. Helena poured out her bitterness. The hatred she felt for that house, the years of wounds, her conviction that Adriana was his mistress. Alexandros tried to deny it, but every word of defense only stung sharper. Do you want to know why I'm still here? He demanded, stepping closer, his breath quickening. Because I still want you. Despite everything. You are still the woman I desire at my side. The words echoed through her, pulling at memories and pain alike. But before she could answer, the sound of an engine broke the tension. A van pulling into the courtyard. The luggage had arrived. You see, Helena? Alexandros challenged. I stayed. Despite the doubts, I stayed. Don't you think it's time you fought too? She hesitated. Then her mother's voice rang out, chiding her for being unkind to Adriana. Helena exploded. That delicate lady is my husband's mistress. Silence fell like a weight. Helena stormed off, leaving behind not only her mother, but a house thick with tension. Later, at dinner, the scene was no less strained. At a table set with porcelain and candlelight, they sat across from each other like strangers. Alexandros, impeccable in his formal attire. Helena, elegant, even in the simplicity of her dress. Champagne fizzed in their glasses, but words barely passed between them. You can come with me if you wish, he said suddenly. Helena stared, startled. She didn't reply. She only raised her glass in silence. Hearing the irony in the phrase, he murmured next. Welcome back home, a gate mow. Later, alone in her room, Helena lay awake, unable to sleep. The certainty that Alexandros was with Adriana gnawed at her. The thought brought tears until she drifted into restless dreams. And then, suddenly, in the dead of night, a pair of strong arms pulled her from sleep. She didn't know if it was a dream or the beginning of another battle in her heart. Let me go, you brute. Helena gasped, terrified, as Alexandros' firm grip dragged her out of the room. Where do you think you're taking me? He smiled, merciless. You didn't truly believe I'd let you sleep in another bed, did you? Innocent Helena. With calculated precision, he laid her on the king-size bed, the same bed that had once witnessed nights of passion and bitter silence. The clash of those memories made her heart race. Alexandros pulled away her robe with sure gesture, his eyes burning with desire. Instinctively, Helena tried to pull the nightdress tighter to shield herself, but her hesitation robbed her of escape. In seconds, he was over her, dominating every corner of her resistance. One hand slid through her hair, the other traced a line of her body down to her leg. She whimpered in protest, but the weight of memory and of longing began to dissolve her defenses. His kiss silenced her. Demanding, urgent, and against all reason, she yielded. The darkened room pulsed only with the rhythm of their hearts. When he finally pulled back, Helena murmured between sobs. You saw her, didn't you? Adriana. Alexandros held her gaze. Yes, she was there. But I didn't touch her, Helena. I didn't seek her. The sincerity in his face made her tremble. I imagined so many things. He caressed her face, steady and firm. I am with the only woman who completes me. Why would I ever settle for less? The word set fire to what little resistance she had left. Helena pulled him back to her, and everything else dissolved. Later, nestled in his arms, Helena felt the weight of her vulnerability. Nowhere felt safer than here. And that was exactly what frightened her most. How much she still had to lose. A sigh escaped her lips. Why such a melancholy sigh, a gate mow? He asked tenderly. It isn't melancholy, she lied, turning her face away. Alexandros arched a brow, unconvinced. Then we need to talk about what tore us apart. The word apart made Helena shiver. Tears welled in her eyes. No, I don't want to. She rose abruptly, fleeing the bed. Alexandros followed her into another room, where he found her standing fragile, wrapped in a blue robe. Helena, how long will you keep running? If we don't face the past, it will destroy us again. Her eyes shone with pain. You want our baby. Alexandros paled, as if struck. That isn't true. It is, her voice shook. I was pregnant, and you made me feel like a burden, like an inconvenience. The silence between them opened like an abyss. Helena trembled, crushed by the memories. Your mother, she said some children arrive at the wrong time, and you let her words poison everything. Alexandros' face twisted with anguish. Helena, When you lost that baby, I felt it was my fault, as if my selfishness had summoned that tragedy. That's why I didn't go after you when you left. I convinced myself I deserved the punishment. The confession bent his shoulders, and Helena, stunned, realized he had carried that guilt alone for 3 long years. She stepped closer, tears slipping quietly. It wasn't your fault. It was fate. And I ran too, Alexandros. I couldn't bear the pity in people's eyes. He drew her into a silent embrace. Reconciliation and open wound, all at once. Tomorrow, he murmured into her hair, we begin again. No running. No silence. The next morning, Helena watched him on the veranda, already dressed for work. Leaving me alone again? She asked, with a trace of disappointment. Only for a few hours. Nikos's wedding demands my presence at family gatherings. But if you wish, you can come with me. Before Helena could answer, Margaret appeared, smiling, moving slowly with the help of her walker. What a lovely sight, my dear mother-in-law. Alexandros praised warmly. Margaret blushed at his charm. Helena, however, only pressed her lips together. Alexandros, ever astute, added smoothly, tonight there will be a family party. I'd like you to join us, Margaret. The spark of expectation on her mother's face left Helena cornered. We didn't come prepared for parties, she tried to argue. But Alexandros smiled, sly. Nothing that can't be solved. I'll have evening gowns delivered here for you to choose from. Helena's glare could have cut through steel, but seeing her mother's happiness, she lacked the strength to refuse. Hours later, in her room, Helena brushed her hair before the mirror, wearing nothing but one of his shirts. When Alexandros entered and set 2 velvet boxes on the dresser, a shiver ran down her spine. I don't want to go to that party, she confessed, almost pleading. He pulled her into his arms, firm yet tender. If anyone dares hurt you, I'll defend you with tooth and nail. You have my word. Her eyes glimmered with both fear and longing. They don't like me, Andrus. He closed his eyes for a moment. Only Helena called him that. Only she had the power to undo his defenses. Holding her close, he whispered his vow. Now we have a lifetime to reclaim what we lost. Helena wanted to believe him, but deep inside, one question burned. How far could she trust that this promise would not be broken again? Alexandros knocked softly before stepping inside. Helena stood before the mirror, staring at her reflection with a mix of anxiety and doubt. Her hand smoothed nervously over the jade silk of the fitted dress that hugged her silhouette. Her makeup was light, discreet. Her hair, pinned back, gave her an elegant look, though she longed to let down, feeling far too exposed. What do you think? She asked, uncertain. Alexandros stopped in the doorway. For a moment, there was no answer. When she turned, her breath caught. He was striking, dressed in a white dinner jacket, black microfiber trousers, a bow tie. The living image of a man who commanded attention. Stunning. His voice was low but certain, perfect. Helena wanted to reply the same, but her eyes caught the small velvet box in his hands. Her heart leapt. So you brought them back. Alexandros opened the box. Emeralds glowed like green embers, dusted with diamonds. Relics that had once been a source of humiliation, when Helena had mocked her for wearing them. Turn around, he ordered softly. I don't know if I want to wear them, she hesitated, remembering the pain. It'll look like a challenge to your family. He stepped closer, firm. You are my wife. I gave you these jewels, and I want to see them where they always belonged. Tonight is the night of new beginnings. With no other choice, Helena obeyed. The necklace settled against her throat as if it had been made for her. The cool touch of the stones was followed by the warmth of his lips against her nape. Helena shivered. They descended together. Helena stopped when she saw her mother, radiant in a silver gown, leaning on her walker but determined to enjoy the night. Pride softened Helena's nerves. But that security vanished the moment they arrived at the Kiriákos mansion. The murmur of conversation in the great hall fell silent as they entered. Hundreds of eyes turned toward Helena. A whisper spread among the guests, an invisible trial. That was when Alexandros showed his strength. He set one firm hand at her waist, the other over his mother-in-law's, and with his head held high, imposed silence on the crowd. The authority radiating from him was undeniable. So different from the man of 3 years ago. Between polite greetings and veiled curiosity, Helena found comfort in a genuine smile when she embraced Eve Heraclides. Her friend was married now, radiant beside Ethan Hayes. Theron, always gallant, kissed her cheeks and made Margaret blush with his gentlemanly charm. But soon the air chilled. Eleni approached. Her smile was formal, her kiss on Helena's cheek cold. And when her eyes fell on the necklace, she made a point of commenting, "How lovely is it new?" Alexandros answered before Helena could falter. "I had it made for her right after our wedding. She wore it only once." The barb struck Eleni like an arrow. Helena, for her part, felt torn between discomfort and the warmth of her husband's smile. The night went on. Alexandros guided her from group to group, presenting her as though making a public declaration. "This is my wife, and she has returned." More than that, he revealed to the family and the onlookers that Helena spoke Greek, a calculated move. Now, everyone would have to weigh their words in her presence. But Eve went further. On the veranda, she whispered a warning. "Be careful with Adriana. She seems sweet, but she manipulates." She even convinced Eleni to switch places with her in San Esteban, just to stay close to Alexandros. Demetrios supports her. They have plans, Helena. The words chilled her spine. Before she could respond, Alexandros appeared behind her, pressing a possessive kiss against her neck. "Women's talk is only for women, cousin," Eve teased, slipping away with grace. Alone with him on the veranda, Helena dared to confess, in a trembling whisper, "I love you." Alexandros' body stiffened. He didn't answer. The silence hurt more than any denial. "I'll take it back, if you want." "No, Helena, just don't say it again, not now." His gaze burned, brimming with emotions he could not voice. Helena could barely breathe, and before the moment became irreversible, a figure intervened. "Thea," imposing as ever. "Forgive me for interrupting." Her tone was grave. "I'm worried about your mother. Theron is dancing with her, and I fear her enthusiasm may do harm." Helena rushed to see. Eve's grandfather was twirling Margaret across the dance floor, drawing laughter from her lips. The scene was endearing and worrisome. "I'll go," Helena began, but Alexandros stopped her. "No, let me." He kissed Margaret's cheek and disappeared into the crowd. Suddenly, Helena found herself alone with Thea. The silence weighed. "My son loves you, Helena, but your quarrels, they exhaust me." Her heart tightened. This might be her only chance to change the course of their relationship. "We've always been fire and spark, Thea. That will never change. But this time, I promise, I'll try to be different." Alexandros' mother sighed. "I'm sorry about the baby." And then, in a rare gesture of vulnerability, added, "Call me Thea." When she left, Helena felt something shift. Not full acceptance, but perhaps a first step. Alexandros returned seconds later. Steady as always, Helena fell into his arms. "Never let me go again." "I won't. That's a promise." Back at the residence, Helena still smiled at the memory of her mother's boldness in flirting with Theron, but the lightness of the night vanished by morning. Alone, as she asked for tea, she received an envelope, her name typed neatly across the front. She opened it with idle curiosity and nearly fainted. Photographs spilled to the floor as if they burned to the touch. Images capable of destroying everything. Her heart pounded. Her body shook. A scream of horror shattered the silence of the house. Helena fled, running desperately, as if escaping a venomous serpent. Elias found Helena curled up in the terrace bathroom, pale, her eyes red from crying. "Kyria, are you unwell?" Helena only nodded, too weak to answer. She tried to rise, bracing against the cold marble, but couldn't manage the stairs. Instead, her steps carried her instinctively to her mother's room, her place of refuge. Eli's worried eyes followed her. The housekeeper knew she was failing her duty if she didn't inform Alexandros. But Alexandros didn't need to be told. Fate had already seen to that. At the very moment Helena received her cursed envelope, Alexandros received his own. Photographs, poisoned portraits, fabricated images designed to destroy. The phone rang, Adriana's father. Moments later, his mother, Thea, distressed with rumors already whispered by the Athens paper famous for exposing the secrets of high society. A scandal loomed like a storm. Alexandros raced home. Crossing the terrace, he saw the open envelope on the table, the photos scattered. His chest burned with fury. He seized them and went straight to Margaret's room. Helena lay curled on the bed, her eyes drowning in tears. "Helena!" His voice was low, firm. "These photos are fake. You must believe me." She didn't answer. She only raised one of the images. Him, asleep on a yacht, Adriana at his side. The sight pierced her soul. "How could you," she sobbed, "how could you wound me like this?" Alexandros snatched the photos from her hands. "You're a photographer. Look closer. They're forgeries. I will not let lies destroy what we have." Each word pulled her between pain and disbelief. But finally, with trembling hands, Helena sat at the old computer. She opened her editing program, enlarging the details. Slowly, the flaws appeared. A missing finger, shadows misaligned, the yacht railing cut away. "My God!" Helena whispered, shaken. "They were manipulated." "I told you." His voice was both anger and plea. "I need you to trust me." But still, something had been stolen. A piece of trust. A scar on her heart. Determined, Helena went to the Stavros mansion. Adriana met her with icy calm, as if she had been waiting. "Now that you've seen the truth about me and Alexandros, can you finally leave forever?" she fired coldly. Helena trembled. "You sent the photos, didn't you?" Adriana smiled and confessed, without shame, without mask. "Yes, I sent them. I was tired of rejection. 2 weeks ago, he said he would divorce you. I was to be his wife. But suddenly I was cast aside. I won't accept it." Her words were venom. But Helena held the weapon of truth. She drew the enlarged images from her bag, exposing every flaw. A good forger should be more careful. "I'm a photographer. I see every mistake. These are false. And you are a liar." Adriana tried to laugh. "True or false, it doesn't change the fact that Alexandros wanted me. You're only in the way." The reply came from a voice behind them. "You're wrong." Alexandros stood in the room, eyes blazing. "I want Helena. Only Helena. Always." The ground seemed to tremble. Adriana's mask fell. She screamed, accused, unleashed old grudges. She revealed she had always loved Nikos, and, rejected, had sought comfort in the wrong arms. Her obsession had rotted into despair. Her father entered, stern. "Enough, Adriana. You've hurt too many. Leave them be." Then, to Alexandros, "Take your wife. Do not come back here." The return was in silence. But Helena, crushed by pain, erupted in accusations. "I was humiliated, paraded like a trophy, threatened by your family. And now these photos. Even if they're false, they wounded me. Why must we relive the same mistakes from 3 years ago? It isn't the same." Alexandros shot back. "I'm fighting for us. I don't know if I can anymore." Her voice broke. On the roadside, Helena stepped out of the car. That was when Theron appeared, with Margaret beside him. Helena asked for a ride, leaving Alexandros standing, defeated, under the fading light of dusk. That night, in her room, Alexandros sought her out. His voice was different, no arrogance, only truth. "Forgive me for letting doubt come between us. Demetrios poisoned my mind in the past. But now I know who you are. I know you never betrayed me. And I know that if I love you more, it's because without you I don't exist." Exhausted, Helena fell into his arms. "I've had a terrible day." He held her close, promising to turn every bitter memory into one of love. Days later, the mansion filled with voices. Thea, Eleni, Nikos, Carlotta, Eve, all gathered. Not to judge, but to celebrate. Eve raised her glass of champagne. To Helena, back in the place that has always been hers. What once threatened ruin had transformed into festivity. Blushing, Helena fought back tears. When the house finally emptied, Alexandros drew her close. After my brother's wedding, we'll disappear. The Caribbean. Just you and me. And the bed. Helena teased with a smile. We'll leave it only to dive into the blue sea. She laughed softly. Stubborn. But mine. And this time Helena knew no photographs, no lies, no intrigues would ever drive them apart again.